growing up all the time, your dad, they always give that advice. As kids, we're like, oh man, why are you telling me this? I get it, Dad. You're the smartest man in the world. Okay, leave me alone. Let me go do my own thing. I'm smarter than you are. He pulled me aside. I was probably 28 or 29. He said, son, you have a opportunity sitting in front of you right now to do amazing things. But if you're not going to take that, it's going to go away. And I kind of sat there and I thought about it and I was like, man, I do have an opportunity. I'm making good money, but I can make great money if I take that next step.
Lean into something you're good at. When a pivotal moment comes, and a lot of us like, I'm smarter than my dad, I'm smarter than my mom. Like, this is your once in a lifetime opportunity. It's not always out there. It's not like an opportunity at Walmart. You just go there anytime you want to buy it, it's just there and you grab it. It comes and it goes. You never know when the next one will come around.
Caring about your employees, it's your baby. You raised them. You were their mentor. At the end of the day, nobody wants to work for a boss. Everybody wants to work for a mentor.
I didn't have a mentor like I have now. I turned 54 this year. Well, if I was 24 and I had the information that's available now for a 24-year-old in business, if I had had a mentor like Patrick Bet-Dave, Andy Elliott, if I had had a mentor like them in the beginning, I can promise you where I'm sitting at 54 would be a whole different world.
Hey guys, thank you for joining us today. We have a real treat today. We have Andy Dunning from Dallas, Texas, joining our podcast, New American Dream, to talk about his upbringings, his success. He's been very successful. He's been in the real estate business and then also auction business. He has up to 5 now, correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, going up there against Goliath, taking everybody by storm. So excited to hear about it. I actually learned myself. We met him, when did we meet him?
We met him summertime, right?
Yeah.
At the Elliott place.
Yeah, so that was fun. We right away clicked. High energy guy, driven, something me and Vaz always look up to individuals like that. So thank you for being here. So Andy, tell us about your upbringing, how you started. Did you start with like a lot of money?
No, I wish. I don't think that helps though.
Yeah.
I think if you start out with a lot of money, you don't respect it first off, and then you're not going to have that drive to be like, hey man, I need to go out and find some more. So no, my dad's a retired colonel from the Army. We traveled around as a kid growing up. We never lived in the same place more than probably a year or two. So that helped a lot. I mean, first off, it just brings you out of your shell. I have to make new friends every time I turn around. So that really helped me out. But so we traveled around, grew up pretty much everywhere. Originally from Texas, ended up back in Texas when my dad was retiring, and I got a full ride scholarship on basketball to go play, and I didn't want to go to school. I wasn't, it just wasn't for me. I blew my knee out my freshman year, and I was like, oh, hey, exit program, So I asked my dad, I said, I want to do something with you, a family business, and didn't really know what to do. But he had sold antiques, on the side while I was growing up. And I was like, I want to do something in the antique business because I kind of grew up around it. I thought it was really cool. And so I was like, what could we do? And he goes, let's open an antique auction house. And I'm like, man, that sounds great. Who are you going to get to be the auctioneer? And he goes, you. I was 19 years old, man, and I knew nothing about that. And it was like, hey, I'm going to go off. I found an article in one of the trade magazines, and 2 weeks later, I'm off going to auction school, learning how to be an auctioneer. Wow. And, and I'm used to talking slow, so it was like a complete change to get to where you're, and they don't teach you anything really they teach you what you need to be taught, but you've got to really hone it in and build your skill. And they teach you how to go $1 bid now.
Can you do like 1,000, 2,000?
I used to be able to. I don't do it anymore. But I used to talk real fast.
I still don't understand how they do it so quick. Like 1,000, 5,000. I'm like, what's the number?
Yeah, it's just listen to just raise your hand. And just be there at the end. Don't worry about the price. That's how it works. So, but I learned how to auctioneer, and I found I found my calling at that time doing that, and by time I was 27, I had won the international championship in auctioneering.
Wow.
And I was
Damn.
the youngest one to ever do that. Still am. But so I grew, you know, in that, but I always knew. I went to auction school and I saw my first car auction. And I got bit by the bug. I was like, that's what I want to do for a living. I was like, I want to be a car auctioneer. And I got my wish. I found out it's an absolute grind.
Yeah.
You know, I spent like 9 years on the road doing nothing but car auctions. And I think I went one whole year, I never even came home. I did
Wow.
not step foot
So
in
you
my house.
traveling
I was
different
traveling
states?
to different states doing
Wow.
auctions all over the place. And that was a blessing. It was great. But I was like, that's not how I wanna do. So
It's not
I had this-
sustainable, right?
No, absolutely not. You know, but I had an idea. It's like, instead of working for somebody else doing this, why don't I own one?
Yeah.
And so I went out and I bought my first auction.
So when did that bell hit? Like, well, I better own one.
I had a conversation with my dad, and this was one of those deals of, you know, growing up all the time, you know, your dad not harps, they always give that advice, but, you know, as kids, we're like, oh man, why are you, you know, telling me this? I get it, Dad. Yeah, you're the smartest man in the world. Okay, leave me alone. Let me go do my own thing. I'm smarter than you are. And he pulled me aside. I was probably 28 or 29. He said, son, he said, you have a opportunity sitting in front of you right now to do amazing things. He said, but if you're not going to take that opportunity, it's going to go away. And I kind of sat there and I thought about it and I listened to it and I was like, man, I do have an opportunity. I'm making good money, but I can make great money if I take that next
Take that
step.
risk, yeah.
And he kind of pushed me to take that next step.
How old
And,
were you?
I was 28 or 29 at the time, and that light bulb really kicked on. So I probably had a path to getting to buy my first auction a little different than most people do. You know,
You want to go into that?
I don't know. We'll go into it later on.
Okay.
I'll do a retake on that and tell you how we ended up there.
Okay.
But I had a couple that was going through a divorce, and they owned a night auction, and it was just kind of a junk sale. I mean, literally, when the wind would blow on the building that the cars would drive through, you'd hear this awful screaming noise, and it was the termites holding the roof onto
Oh
the
my
building.
God.
You know, I mean, it was that bad of a building, and
Yeah.
you know, but we took that little auction from selling 20 or 30 cars a night to selling 100 cars a night. And then there's a big car dealer in Dallas Fort Worth, actually all of Texas. He owned like 17 dealerships, and he had a company called AutoVest, and it was a mobile car auction, and they would set up at the new car dealerships and actually sell their trade-in inventory right there at the sale. And he was selling out to Asbury Automotive at the time, and Asbury didn't want to be in the auction business. And it gave me a prime opportunity to be able to take that even next bigger step, because this is now moving into the big boys area.
boys, yeah.
And so I bought that company, and we turned it into a small little monster.
Nice.
Over like the next 8 years, we went from selling 100 cars a week to selling almost 1,000 a week.
Wow,
And,
10x. Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
and then we sold out in 2000 and I think 2010. We sold out to a private equity group, Baird Capital.
Do you mind sharing what the numbers were?
It was an 8-figure deal.
Nice.
I actually want to know, before you go to the exit strategy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a very technical guy. I need to know, how did you go from selling 20 cars to 100 cars? Like the initial momentum, it's always the hardest step for people to go from 0 to 100.
And it was same transition for us. I mean, it's not like, hey, I opened the doors.
What did you
and-
do? Did you do like marketing?
We did. It was a little different. You know, the people that owned it weren't going out and they weren't hitting the right customers. So we turned around and started going out and really pushing. But it was that deal of where I'm walking into the dealership now and talking to the dealership, you know, where they weren't. They were just sitting in their office waiting for whatever
for the cars to
business,
come
whatever
in.
business came into them. That's what they did. But at the same time, we changed a lot of processes that went on. We changed, you know, when the car's getting picked up, how fast are you going to get paid? Who are the buyers that are coming to the auction to start buying your cars, and getting it to where the price of the car kept going up, where like when we bought that place, their average price car was probably like $1,200. By the time we were done with it, it was like $9,000.
Wow.
And, you know, we just kept working
And how
harder
long
and
did it
harder.
take?
It took 9 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't an overnight deal, but the going from 20 to 100 cars on that first auction, that probably took 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
And
But it's still as good. It's 5x.
yeah, and then we outgrew the space we were in, and how it all changed was to where I bought that mobile auction. The industry was changing a lot in 2008, 2009 because of, you know, the car market took just an absolute tank, and dealerships weren't wanting to have the auctions at their dealership anymore. They were wanting to send it back to physical auctions, and we moved that facility that I told you about, with the roof and the termites holding on. We had built a whole new facility there, but we outgrew it. And so I'd bought some property on the north side of Dallas. And when I bought AutoVest at that same time, I combined both of those auctions into one. And we opened up a lot bigger facility, and then moved everything to where it was pushing. Instead of doing the mobile sales, they were all now coming to that auction. But we still had mobile sales around the state, because we had them in Austin, Houston, and San Antonio as well. And we had a trailer. We'd just pull up to a dealership, you know, and we had a trailer being pulled behind a truck, and I basically just brought the mobile auction to you.
That's pretty cool.
And, you know, so you had all the same facets of the business that you would had if you came to our regular location. I just packed it all up and brought it to you to do it. You know, no different than having you know, like the mobile cookers that are, you know, you go to the what are those? The trailer.
Right. It's like a catering service coming to you.
Yeah, basically, we were a catering auction.
So you guys would like upcharge, or would be the same thing as if they would come to you? Like, what would be the structure?
The benefit for them is on the seller side, they got a break. You know, they're not having to move their cars, they're not paying transportation. So I gave them a break on, you know, on their fees to entice them to come in. And I did a lot of it more as it was a partnership. You know, hey, I'm coming here to your lot, I'm going to sell your cars, you know, here. And you'd get a little pushback on, you know, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm like, listen, you're in an area that it'll work perfect. There's other dealerships that are right around here that I know would participate in it. I'm going to pay you part of their sale fee for participating in it. So he's like, oh yeah, definitely. If I'm getting a kickback, you know, not kickback, but I'm getting a fee, for them running their cars at this deal, I'm absolutely in. And then that's the way it turned out, you know. They would end up, the auction would grow because I got the other dealerships that were in the area participating, and then they would get their residual plus a less on their sale fee. So they were in a win-win situation all the way around.
Wow. So a couple of takeaways here. One is that you've leaned into something you're good at 19 years old. And I mean, at 19 years old, I was like not thinking about, you know, being in an auction. Let's just put it this way. I'm married, so let's just keep it PG-13. But you lean into it, then when a pivotal moment comes, and a lot of us like, oh, I'm smarter than my dad, I'm smarter than my mom. He starts listening to the advice from, like, this is your once almost in a lifetime opportunity, because it's not always out there. It's not like an opportunity at Walmart. You just go there, anytime you want to buy it, it's just there and you grab it whenever you're ready. It comes and it goes. You never know when the next one come around. So, you know, you evaluate that advice from your father, and then you go in and you starting to learn how to become good at auctions, right? And then take the course and stuff like that. Find your niche of where you put the character in that, right? You put your own character into it. It's not like this is what you say and this is how you're gonna sell it. Every person has to have character.
And we mention this all the time. You want to be laser focused on one skill, perfect that, make a lot of money, be the best in the area, and then you can diversify because you do have other stuff that you do as well.
Later on.
Absolutely. But see, I didn't, and that's where you talk about like the real estate. I didn't get into real estate until this second phase that I'm in now.
Right.
When we got to talking about when I sold, and that was when I went into that next phase. And, I ended up, when I sold, I was in a long non-compete. I had a 5-year non-compete, which I understand. I mean, nobody wants to buy your company and that be like, hey, that guy's going to open up around the corner on you. So I completely respect that. But, we were talking earlier before we started, and I was like, I was supposed to stay on and work for that company, and my brother, it was a family business, so my brother stayed on and worked for him. And my brother's one of those people, he's the best manager in the world, and he really likes working for somebody else. He likes knowing where that paycheck's coming from every month, and I'm the complete opposite where, I don't care if I get a paycheck this month or if I get one in 5 months, as long as I know the paycheck that's coming is worth worth that time I'm waiting for it. And when I went and we got bought out, I was completely like, oh, hey, this is great. I'm working for somebody else. And then I was like, no, it's not. I'm not made to work for somebody else.
Yeah.
I turned in my notice less than a year, because they didn't run the company the same way I did.
Right.
And we can get into that stuff later, but because that's a whole different game of, if you ever get into that conversation of talking to somebody about selling your business. And you need to stop and think and really, really know who you're selling your business to if you care about the people that are working for you, because they're now going to be working for that new company. And I didn't take all that into account when I sold. I was 38 years old. I'm selling a company for 8 figures and I'm 38. The only thing I'm
it's a nice
I'm done, man.
Yeah.
We're headed to the sunset, and we're retired.
Right.
And it wasn't anything like that. It's a complete myth.
No, but that's a really good point. Actually, caring about your employees, because that's it's your baby. You raised them.
Yep.
You taught them. You were their mentor. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to work for a boss. Everybody wants to work for a mentor. So if they, especially if they work for you for so many years, that means you were their mentor, not just a boss.
Yeah, and I didn't know that until now where I'm at. It's completely changed. Like I said, my brother, the way our dynamic of our company kind of worked, I was the face. I was the one always out there doing the sales, talking to people, always out front. My brother, if I told my brother that, when this car drives through the lane and I say sold, I want to see a squirrel do backflips across the lane when I say sold. My brother's going to make it happen somehow or another, It may not have been a squirrel.
Somebody's doing a backflip.
Something crazy is going to happen, just like he said. And, and my dad always handled the finances, so that helped out because, 5 plus 5 to me was 11. And then I was trying to figure out how do I need to double down from here, And, but that dynamic always worked. Well, fast forward to 2018, and I'm like, all right, non-compete's up. My brother's no longer in the business. And I'm ready to get back in, and I'm going to get back in, full force. But I was in a different role now. I'm not the face. Now I'm the leader. My brother was the leader when we had the company because he was the one that dealt with all the employees. I didn't. I'm out, doing what I'm doing, regardless whether I was the owner. He's the one that managed everybody day to day, not me. And when I came back out and I started doing it again, now I'm in a different role. I become the puppet master, and I have to be in charge of all those things. So it was a whole new learning curve for me.
Yeah.
So was that the first time at 38 when you like managing employees, like leading them and stuff like that? Or?
Well, no, I mean, I stayed away from the managing of the employees the whole time we had the company.
Right.
Mine was, I just always thought, being that owner or being where we were, mine was about sales. Mine's about being out there, making sure that we had cars in the lane and buyers there to buy those cars. I thought that was what running the auction was. I didn't really pay
The back end.
attention to what went on in the back house, other than, when it came down to the finances and stuff like that. But the day-to-day running of the operations, my brother handled that. So I
Right.
didn't really have to focus. It's part of that, having a good team around you.
Correct.
Make sure you have smarter people in the room other than
Yeah.
yourself. And I definitely made that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so it made that part of it easy. But when I had to go recreate it, and I was doing it now completely on my own from the ground up, and I didn't have those support system around me, I had to create that support system.
So how long did it take you to build it back up?
I did it a lot faster this
lot
time.
faster, right?
And it was way faster. I learned more in the first year that I sold about what I should have been doing. And and they don't tell you when you sell, hey, you get this great paycheck, that you get. Yeah, I love that. But
What about taxes?
I went, well, the taxes, the, putting the money away. I went to continue to live my lifestyle the way I was living it. I didn't change. I was like, I had this other paycheck that always came in, so I knew I had a lifestyle I could live. Well, that paycheck doesn't come in anymore when you sell all of a sudden.
Yeah.
That paycheck goes to the guy that bought you, and so I had to, it was like, I don't like this. I
Right.
want to be out and in control of what's going on. I don't like living out of my nest egg. So
Yeah.
that was when we, decided I'm going to get back in the auction
Yeah,
business.
living off the principal, it's never good.
No.
You want to live off the dividends.
Yes.
So it's actually funny that you say that. So me and Vaz actually this year is selling a big chunk of our business. So some advice you can give. So trust me, here in Miami, us and our wives, we have a certain lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I'm actually thinking about what are we gonna do and all this stuff. So do you think we have to start watching what we spend and how we spend? I'm not saying we're blowing it out here, but we're living a good life.
Well, the way I look at it now is, if I had sustained my income, even though selling off, you're going to go in and invest into new things. You guys are in that. You're selling something off, but you're in growth to go in
Yeah.
a different direction,
Yeah.
right? So that's a little different from where I was. When I was 38 and I did it, I was looking at it from, okay, I'm 38, I'm retired, I'm never going to need I'm not going to need any more money the rest of my life. Well,
okay.
I was clueless. I
Right.
mean, I had no idea, Like you said, Uncle Sam's coming and taking his bite,
Right.
and he's got some big teeth.
Yeah.
He's hungry.
For sure.
And so I just didn't, I wasn't ready for that. And I didn't have a mentor like I have now. Had I had a mentor at that time, my dad's always been, that person in my life I always look up to. But my dad's never gone through an experience like that. My dad never had money. So, for him, retirement to him is a total different thing. He's 80, now he's 84 years old. So
God bless.
him retirement's, it's really retirement,
Yeah.
Right.
I'm hoping to live to 84, so I got to figure out how to stretch that money out,
Right.
So it was, so what I can say is, if you do sell off a chunk of it, first off, put that chunk back that you're never going to touch. That is the never touch. I don't care what's going on. The only way you're touching it is if the apocalypse is coming down and you want to
Right.
have a big party. Because we always talk about, you guys know, and you've heard this before. What's our number one goal? We want to build a financial fence around our family.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what that money you're putting back, that's that financial fence. That means I don't care who gets elected president. I don't care who's the governor of Florida. I don't care who's the governor of Texas. I don't care what's going on outside of the world, because I built this fence around myself that those things aren't going to change what happens with this money. Do I really care what goes on? Yes, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm not going to let that, because so-and-so's president, that's not going to dictate what goes on to protect my family.
Nice.
That money is set aside
That's
to do
good.
that, all right?
Smart.
I mean, you think about all these families that have all that money. That's what it is, I mean, like in Texas, you've got like the Bass family, you've got, Jerry Jones, you've got all these guys that have legacy money.
Right.
They have legacy money because when they put that back, they built that financial fence. They were looking, 20, 30, 40 years down the road of what am I investing in so that the rest of my family never has to worry about this forever.
Yes, yes.
You know, that generational wealth, and
yeah.
you know, and I think that's what we all want to get to. I'm just now, you know, I'm learning that that's where I wanted to be.
Yeah, so me and Ashad are really big in real estate. And I want to know your opinion about real estate, if you have any properties, and if you do, how'd you get in it?
So, Jaime, my girlfriend, she's a realtor, and she does residential real estate, and she wanted to start doing some Airbnb, so we started doing a couple of those, but also we started buying some commercial properties. And then with the auto auctions, I own all the real estate that all the auctions sit on as well. So it started
Was it hard to get into the auction real estate, or no?
You know, it wasn't, because I was acquiring it as I acquired the auction.
Okay,
So
that's the best buy.
Yeah, I'm
right?
buying the company, I'm buying the real estate,
Yeah.
I'm taking the whole deal. So that part of it was easy.
Smart.
But knowing the tax benefits, knowing the write-offs, all the little things that go with it, I didn't know any of that stuff. That's what, you know, I'm learning in that second phase, I call it, in my, you know, my journey as an entrepreneur is, you know, those are the things you got to figure out, because there's so many benefits to it.
100%. 100%. And being your own landlord, you're developing the business, you're making it happen. You're not scared that your lease is not going to get renewed in 5 years or something else. You know, you're putting a lot of your time, effort, energy in it.
Yeah.
You want to, if you can, be a landlord.
Yeah.
And it's easier
absolutely.
to sell. It's easier to sell a business if it comes with real estate.
Yes.
That's like the biggest mistake I made once in my life. I bought a business, or started actually a business, without owning a real estate.
Yeah.
So it's like always, if you have an option, buy the building.
Oh, and now, you know, where before I was just like, oh no, I just don't know if I have the money to be able to own it and do that. Now, if we're going in and buying a business, I don't care what it is. If I was buying a gym, I'm buying the building.
Yeah.
You know, because I want to know, and it also forces me at the same time. It forces me to be a better businessman on operating that business, because guess what? I now own this, and if I don't make the payments on this, you know, it's because this over here is operating bad. I have to operate my business that I'm in there as being the tenant really good, so that I can pay myself as the owner. And they're treated as two completely separate businesses.
I hope everybody's paying attention. When you buy a business with real estate, you have two entities, and you still pay yourself rent.
Oh yeah.
Because now two things are going up. Tomorrow, you can either refinance the building, or you can sell the building, keep the business, or vice versa. Sell the business, keep the building.
Be a
Yep.
landlord and continue collecting the rent.
Yeah, I had a gentleman that I'd done business with years ago, and I always, you know, he sold out, but he retained all the real estate. And I asked him, I said, why'd you retain the real estate? He said, you know how much I make in mailbox money every month?
Yep.
You know, and I
Yep.
was like, oh, that makes sense. And he was making so much on the rent, and the way he had pre-done all the leases on his deals before, and he did it multiple years before he sold. So he was setting himself up to sale, but he signed long-term leases with his own companies,
Yep.
and he had escalations in there. Well, when he got bought out, those leases stayed in place. So he got the escalation in rent. Well, eventually they came in and said, hey, it's just cheaper for us to come in and buy you out. What's the price? And then he got another multiple above on his, he made almost as much on the real estate as he did on the exit of the
Wow.
business.
Very smart. Very
Yeah.
smart.
And so, you know, and that's the way that we've gone in now on our real estate. It's set up, you know, separate companies, pay ourselves a healthy rent. You know, if somebody was to probably look at it, they'd be like, whoa, you're a little heavy on the rent there. I'm like, no, that's perfect.
I mean, it depends
That's
on
market
how
rate
much-
right now,
That's
guys.
right.
I don't know what you're talking
Market
about.
rate.
Do your homework. Do your homework.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very smart. Again, lots of good advices for you guys. You might be starting out, hey, I don't even have a business. What are you guys talking about? If you set it up right in the beginning, it's just going to save you so much headache and so much time. That's what we'd like to pass forward.
Well, and that's the important part of, you know, where you were, we talk about, you know, at 24 or, you know, this year I turned 54 this year, and, you know, which was easier to make money. Well, if I was 24 and I had the information that's available now for a 24-year-old in business, if I had had a mentor like, we go to Patrick Bet-David, we go to Andy Elliott, if I had had a mentor like them in the beginning, I can promise you where I'm sitting at 54 would be a whole different world.
100%, 100%. I'm not 54, but I still remember when I was young and I was hungry for a better life, the only motivation I was getting is Tupac. Putting a Tupac song or something. Right now, there's so many people that can show you how to do it, motivate you how to do it, the way they look, the way they train, the way they make money, the way they advertise, everything is out there at your fingertips.
And they're so willing to give the information. Yeah, I mean, it costs something, but most of the time where you can start, it's not that expensive to get started.
Yeah.
As you grow and you find, okay, this is working, now you're back to investing in yourself. I'd rather invest in myself all day long.
Every day.
Every day, putting something in, because you can invest in yourself in so many different ways. Reading a book, watching a podcast, just getting information out there in general. You don't have to really be paying for anything to get that information.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people rush into paying somebody just because like, oh, I just want to have that by next year. Again, like, Andy, you said 9 years into like where it's like you were able to see some of the money. Most of the people online, you read some of the comments like, how do I get rich in 6 months? Like they're not willing to put in the time. And again, just because you paid somebody doesn't mean it's going to be faster. I would say if you're not making a lot of money, like maybe like $10,000, $20,000 a month, you can literally read a book, you can watch the podcast. It doesn't cost much. Like book today is like $15, $20. You can read 50 books, business book. I'm not talking about 50 Shades of Grey, like business books that are gonna get you better. Nothing wrong against them. God bless whatever you do for your free time. By reading 50 Shades of Grey, you're not gonna make $10,000 more a month. Maybe.
Unless you got something going on in that red room.
Right.
And then another point is like, besides reading books, surround yourself with like-minded people. Surround yourself with people that have done it. Like, hang out with Andy, hang out with a shot, obviously, but like me. But like the whole thing is like you surround yourself who you want to be.
Yep.
If I'm gonna be hanging out with like a bunch of drunk addicts or drunk people that go to parties or something like that, I'm gonna become that one person. So if my friends are into fitness or workout, guess what? Magically, I'm gonna have a six-pack.
Somehow.
Somehow.
Magically, yeah.
I don't
Just
have a
watch you guys
six-pack
do
yet.
crunches. Yeah,
I got to do it by May 17th.
Oh, is that the day?
That's the day.
Why?
But you
Well,
got
that's
more
my-
shredded, I
that's
noticed
my,
that.
That's my birthday.
Oh, that's your
I was
birthday, May
it's like-
17th.
So
Oh, nice.
2 days ago, I was like, all right, hey, I got 90 days.
Nice.
May
All right,
17th.
we're gonna fly out May
Yeah.
17th.
Yep.
Girls, we're gonna fly out to Texas.
Watch your abs. But there's something that you said that's I'm actually curious for myself and my family because we're talking about selling some of the business and then we're thinking about one of the conversation we're having in the family and a little bit of debates is about the traveling. I want to like after we sell a few things, we're thinking about maybe traveling to like different countries and stay there for 6 months, maybe for like 3-4 years. Different cultures, experience that for ourselves and the kids. You said that you've done that because your father were in.
When we were in the military.
In the
we
military.
Yeah.
So and you said that you kind of talked positive about that. Do you see benefits? Like, of course, there's always upsides and stuff like that. Different. What would you recommend? Do you recommend to do that?
Mine was different because I didn't have an option, and in our family, it was, my dad got orders, and you just left. It's
Right.
like we'd be in the middle of a school year, and he'd be, all right, we're transferred, and so it could be, school may have just come back from Christmas break, and I'm like, oh, hey guys, I'm moving to Delaware. It wasn't anything really exciting, but it built character in me for that ability to just sit here and have a conversation.
Right.
I had to learn how to talk to people. I didn't meet a stranger. Now my brother though, completely different. My brother could care less whether he talks to a person. He's just different. He responded different to movie.
Right.
And but I think it's good. The part that always concerns me about, if you go through and you sell and you're like, here, I'm going to take 6 months off or I'm going to take a year off. Is that where you're headed? Is that what you want? I get it that we're doing it for the family and everybody wants to do it, but when you're talking about what you're doing with your business, now are you ready to put the rest of your business on pause for a year or 2 years so you can go and travel the world.
So right now we're automating our business.
Okay.
So a lot of the businesses we're creating systems where it doesn't really rely. So majority of our business is actually in Philadelphia.
So we're already
We live in
doing it.
Miami.
Yeah.
So we pretty much I don't want to say perfected that, but we're getting there.
Yeah, and the thing is like,
And
we
y'all's
just-
is true mailbox money.
yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. But it's a smaller checks. But listen, we just need an internet connection, honestly, to run the companies that we do.
That's different, and being able to go and you're going to get that culture, that growth, that, and everybody gets to see, maybe it's not always, pasture's not always greener on the other side.
Right, right.
And that has to be seen.
I feel like before jumping into something big, like, we have multiple businesses, but I feel like if we sell a good chunk of it, I think it would be good for us to, like you said, not right away to go and spend it or invest it, like have it sit a little bit, recoup, go see different cultures, do a couple of things, plus when you travel and meet other people, there might be good ideas that are coming through you.
It's the best networking in the world.
Yeah, so in 2-3 years when we come back, we'll be like, yo, let's do this and go all in, and then we're ready for it physically, mentally, and I just think it would be a good idea, but I get obviously a lot of pushback from the family thinking
Yeah.
I'm crazy.
Well, it's tough because especially if you're on a good run, it's like, hey, we have this momentum built. Why can't you do both? And I'm always big. I'm a workaholic. I mean, there is no,
Right.
it's not a 9-to-5 job. I come home at 5. It may be 5 in the morning. And what do? I get up and I leave the house by 7. It's whatever's required. And but if you're on that big run of the way you guys are right now, doesn't mean you have to, totally take a break from it. You can.
Right.
I think there's a way of finding that balance. I mean, as we all, the three of us know, there is no true work-life balance.
Right.
No.
It doesn't exist
I
as
don't
an
believe in it.
entrepreneur. If somebody sits there and says, "Oh man, I need a work-life balance. I got to be able to.
Yeah.
I got to be able to spend this much time with my wife and my kids, and I got to be able to do this at work, and I need it. I need time." I'm like, dude, it's not for you.
I can't even get along with a person who works 40 hours.
It
If that
irritates
person's not,
me.
if you're not doing 80 hours a week,
Yes.
you're not working, you're part-time.
I hate that, and I hate to truly admit that because I have so many of my friends that have that mentality, but unfortunately, I back away from those people.
Yeah.
Just like you said, you surround yourself with people that are like-minded like you, and that's exactly where I always want to be. I want to be around. I want to be not the smart guy in the room. I want to kind of be not quite the dumbest guy in the room, mind you, but somewhere just above that. But in that room every time,
Yeah.
if you're sitting there and, people will say, "Oh, well, you're in the top 1%." I'm like, I'm not really. I'm in the top, probably 10%, and then when I get to that next room though, I'm in the top 10% of
Yeah.
that next percent. And that's what I always want to do. I want to be working my way up that ladder, to get around that, I want to hang out with a billionaire one day, I mean, I think that'd be cool.
Right.
I'm not ever going to get there, but hey, if I hang around enough of them, maybe one day I'll be one.
Maybe we'll be hanging out with a billionaire once you become one.
Maybe I'll be hanging out with y'all because y'all were
Well-
the billionaires.
The way you 10xing stuff, it's a matter of time.
It's one of those things of the faster you can. I devour information. I
Yeah.
truly, it was like I sent Andy Elliott a message the other night. I need a new book, and he hits me with like 3 books in a row, and I'm like, catch up, brother. So I had to send him a screenshot of the last 40 books I read, so that he's not, picking from the same well.
Right.
And, because when you sit and read that much and constantly trying to devour information, you got to start going to other people of getting, new ideas of what to read. But I mean, I try to, this year, my goal, I want to read 52 books this year,
That's
so that's
awesome.
a book a week. And
So I mean, that's one of the things that the audience should be paying attention. Andy has it all. He has
All figured out.
everything.
I don't know. I don't have it
starting
figured
from.
out.
I don't know if I should say.
Six pack
Yeah.
to real estate.
But, and he's
to-
still learning.
Yeah, and he still reads 52 books. Like, when was the last time you read 52 books? You know what I mean? So
I mean, I'm like I said, I got to 40, and I was shocked I got to 40 because the year before I think I only read like 10 books. But I started realizing the more that I started to consume that information, the more I was finding myself more motivated. I was finding myself more disciplined. You know, because I always say motivation's just it's just a spark.
Right,
You know, you got to have it to get you started doing stuff, and then but I found myself, okay, here I did that. Now it becomes a habit. Now so every day, if it's only 20 minutes that I get to read, it's 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
But I got some reading in there.
Yes.
Right.
And you do find that time. You have to devote it to what you're doing to accomplish it.
What's your most recent favorite book, or anything that you want to give the value to the viewers? Anything that
Well, definitely PBD's book, Choose Your Enemies Wisely. That one. So I make I've got my management team that directly reports to me, and it's 8 or 10 people in that group, and I make them read a book a month.
Right.
And then they have to give me a 1-page book report back on what they read, and then we'll have every month I'll have a meeting about that book, what you got out of it.
Sick.
And so Choose Your Enemies Wisely, that was one of the ones that really hit a chord. There's another one called The Hard Thing About Hard Things, and that book's awesome. I mean, it'll dig in there, and this guy's just blunt, and it's great. So,
Awesome.
and I picked some different random books in there though that aren't even related to business. Like I was reading one the other day. It was the Empire of the Moon, and it was about the Indians in the West, and how the Comanches and everything got all the land taken from them, and how it truly went down.
So it's more like, I would say you can relate that to the business as well too.
Yeah, you got to get out there and be a savage at all times. That's what
It's
I
like
can
art
tell
or
you.
war, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I read that last year and I flipped out.
Yeah.
I probably read it again this
Yeah.
year. That's the thing, though, is some of these books that I'll read this year.
Yeah.
The Think and Grow Rich.
Right.
That book gets read the first of every year.
Nice.
I read that book just to get my brain back to, hey
100%.
man, you got to visualize, you got to manifest,
that's funny that
you got to go. So I do that book the first of every year.
Do you have a book that you read it every year?
Think and Grow Rich. I like that one, and How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Dude, I mean,
It's like you
here,
can read
why
those
are you
books.
asking me what books to read? Spit it out.
No,
man.
No, I mean, I just want to know
Quit
your
holding that
opinion.
knowledge back.
Nah, stop, bro.
Because I'm telling you, of books, those two books right there, of anybody that wants to get in business for themselves or find that way to where's that spark for that motivation or whatever, those two books right there, information-wise, are the key.
It gets
to
the
start.
juices flowing.
Yeah.
It gets the juices flowing. I like that you're doing it at the beginning of the year just to set up for the year. I don't do that. I just usually whenever I get to it, it's like, I got to read that book. But yeah, it definitely gets you like thinking and gets you in the, I'm big on the energy. Gets you in the right, it's like finding a path like where like the whole universe just opens up and you're just like, oh, damn, I'm going to take that right there.
Yeah. So I got a question for you guys.
Yeah.
So did you start in America or did you?
In America. So we came as kids. I was 13. He was 14.
Okay. So
So
your
we-
mom and dad were,
We moved with parents.
Okay.
Parents
Together,
moved
yeah.
us here.
okay. So did you find it harder to get involved in business, not knowing the culture growing up originally, or was it,
So we never
you just
had a
turned your-
business there, right? We were kids. So we came as essentially teenagers.
Early
So
teens, yeah.
we never really, we can't even compare it to anything than America.
But I feel like it was easier for us in the sense where like we have a chip on our shoulders. Like parents left the good life, the friends that they grew up since elementary school, like the status, like they were well known, very well respected in the city, in the country. They left all that, came here, and dad is doing construction. Mom works at the pretzel factory for like $7 an hour, getting $5, after taxes.
Yeah.
So for us to go to school to study, it's like, damn, like I can't mess this up. Like there is no other choice.
Yeah.
We gotta win. and we have to figure out how. And that's when fun begins. So I mean, yeah, the accent, it's not my first language, all this other stuff. You can find a million excuses why you shouldn't, or you can find why the fuck you have to do it.
Dude, I love that, man.
Yeah, because I can complain like, oh, it's so difficult for me
I
because
don't
people
know
think I'm a
anyone.
foreigner. No, it's easy for me.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's easy because I had to try harder in order to get an A than somebody else that were born in America.
Yeah.
So I learned to work hard from the beginning.
Yeah.
See, and that was going back to that very, right there at the beginning when you asked, did I come from money? See, I think that goes back into that same aspect. They don't respect it. They don't, a lot of people just think it's going to be given to them. They don't want to put in that time, that effort, that complete, here I got to hustle and grind every single day.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen in 2 months. It's not going to happen in 6 months. Now, some people may hit the lottery and yeah, they get that easy life. But man, you guys are true, like you said, hey, that's why it's called the New American Dream. Y'all are the American dream.
Yeah, I love this country, man. It's the greatest country in the world.
And I love hearing that, man. It's,
Because unless you lived in another country, you don't really truly understand how great America is.
That's another thing that I think that makes us excel. We already know what the other side looks like. Some people are like, oh, we should be like Canada. We should be like this. We should be like Switzerland. All right, go check it out. Live there for 6 months. Don't
Yeah.
go there for a month. Live there for 6 months. Try to get a job. Go to public transportation. Go do something. And they'll run back here.
Weren't they just talking about Canada, the fact how hard it is to go up there and start a business?
It's impossible because it's
The
communist.
taxes
Yeah.
are like 55%.
Yeah.
And
I mean, why would you want that?
yeah,
You know?
it's insane. And what do you get for it? Like you get like healthcare that you have to wait in line for 2 months to see a doctor, something like that.
I want to be in an environment where I'm constantly being inspired. I'm,
Yeah.
that's driving me. That says, here, we're gonna give you these opportunities. They're not given to you. We're providing an opportunity for you to go out. Now, if you take it, great. If you don't, man, you're on your own.
100%.
Go at it. I want those opportunities. But if you're not doing all those extra things all the time.
Yeah.
Where I didn't know before. You go back. You talk about where I talked about that second phase. My health was not priority. Being in shape was not a priority. I drank a lot. I did, I wasn't a lush, but I enjoyed. We go out to dinner. I might have 2, 3, 8 drinks.
12, 15, but who's counting?
Who's counting?
Yeah.
But I got tired of how I felt that next day. I didn't feel like going out and conquering the world. And then I'd have to ask Jaime, but I think it was probably April of last year. I just woke up one morning and was like, I don't feel like drinking anymore. And then I started paying attention to what I eat. I started working out a little more.
Nice.
Then I got on this psychotic cold plunging program I'm in now.
Yeah.
And
That's
and,
awesome.
man, it's just completely changed how I feel. But I
That's
had to
awesome.
get discipline in order to be able to do it. And it's helped so much on the business side.
I mean, you have more energy than any 20-year-old nowadays.
I definitely have
Right.
more. I feel better now than I felt in my 20s. I know that
Yeah.
for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And
That's great to hear.
I can't go put my finger on one thing for it, but I can say that overall it's better.
I think it's a bunch of different decisions
Yeah.
that, steps. It's a lot of people's like, oh, if I just do cold plunge, I'm going to be like Andy, or I'm going to be like this. Like, no, it's not just that. It's the combinations of things. It's the reading. It's the this
Compound
and that.
effect.
Yeah, 100%.
But I'm
so.
trying to get a shot into cold shot. I do cold shots. I don't do cold plunge. I
Oh,
love
no,
doing cold showers.
none of this sissy stuff.
Nah?
We're going straight cold plunge. So today, a little plug out, I went to Cold Life, and that is the plunges that Andy had at his house. So I did one of the plunges with him one of the days while we were there, and I ordered one for me. Then I turned around, now I've ordered it for my entire management team.
Oh, wow.
That's
And
awesome.
so we went over to their headquarters today, and I was like, well, I'm here, might as well. I jumped in, did 5 minutes and 40 degrees, but their plunge is unbelievable. A shower in that, 2 totally different
Yeah.
things. It's but when I get out, I feel like I could take on the world, and you feel that way for about 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
Really?
Yeah.
It's like that?
the dopamine that's running through your body.
It's insane.
is
Better than
insane.
any they were comparing to any drug. It
Yeah.
outperforms everything.
But let me ask you a question. From a day, the first time you went in.
May 29th.
Oh wow, you remember?
I can tell you the day.
So I'm saying, like-
266, 266 days in a row. I have not missed a cold plunge.
My God. Wait, hold on. So when did you actually start liking it? It wasn't like
I don't. Every morning I have to convince myself to get.
Every
that
morning
cold
you have to
plunge.
convince.
Then when I get out, I'm like, what was I even thinking?
But have you done cold showers?
Yeah, I did a cold shower before I did a cold plunge, and I didn't. I
It's
I
not the
didn't
same.
get anything from it. I was just like, oh, it's cold. I'm stand here for a minute, and oh, it's cold. Big deal. I get out of the shower. I get out of cold plunging, and I might be.
Yeah.
I'm freezing.
Yeah. Have you ever done like cryo freeze? It's when you go in the
I
chamber.
have not. I haven't done that,
That
yet.
that also felt.
I don't know. I just feel like there's a reason why we moved to Florida. I like warm stuff. Like if I do a cold plunge, I feel like I'll be back in Philly.
5 minutes.
Cold.
5 minutes of that plunge,
5
and then
minutes.
you're in a perfect spot. You get out, and it's warm. Your
Right.
body just naturally warms up. Yesterday morning, when I cold plunged, it was 0 degrees, and I got out of that plunge, and I can promise you, that was the coldest I've ever been in my
But for your
entire
nervous
life.
system, inside is the best.
Oh,
I'll give it a try and I'll call you FaceTime afterwards and be like,
we should
dude,
do a video.
no,
now
let's,
that we-
let's go do it tomorrow morning.
tomorrow morning. Let's go.
Yeah.
my God, what did I sign up for?
Yeah.
Why did I end up being
I
here?
think it's a great idea.
I think this one
Thank
would be.
you.
I think this one is acting a little tough, but you'll see tomorrow morning who's gonna be the one like I'm not going in.
Why?
It's
I'll give it a
I
try.
can promise you, it's worth every bit.
Really?
And once you start doing it,
Yeah.
you'll be addicted to it.
I don't know, man. I just like thinking about it right now.
Yeah.
It's like my kidneys hurt. Just thinking about it.
And they probably will when you get out,
So what's the point?
because you're going to feel so good. My knees are horrible. I've got bad inflammation and arthritis in them. I don't have it anymore.
Wow.
I mean, I can get up. I can actually lift weights again. I can do a lot of stuff I wasn't doing, and I attributed so much of it to cold plunging. The weight loss alone is
Yeah.
Really? Just
is
from that?
major.
Boosters
Really?
every time.
Yeah, it just
I feel like I get skinny every time I get a cold shower.
I feel like you
You're
guys.
constricting.
Yeah, no, but I'm serious. Like it feels like my body
Yeah.
just burns calories for the next couple hours.
But you are though. You're producing, and I'll be wrong on it. Somebody watching this will be like, fact check. But I think you produce either your liver or your kidneys are producing. I think your liver is producing a protein enzyme
Right.
that absolutely just increases your metabolism. It's like brown fat or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll give it a try. Sold. I'll give it a
Alright.
try. I don't promise I'll be doing it for 200 or how many
But
days.
if you did
you
it 2 or 3 times a week,
Yeah.
the benefits that your body's going to get from just the 2 or 3 times a week are going to be insane. And your attitude's going to be completely different. That fluctuation you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll change.
Yeah, it all depends. It all depends which day you catch me on. Yeah. One day I'm a lover, the other day
Yeah.
I'm a fighter. But yeah, anything else that you guys want to talk about today? There's a lot of value today, guys. Really, today's
Yeah.
definitely a good episode.
Well, one thing I say, I know we talked about this. You'd asked earlier about when you go through the whole run. I just want people to understand it isn't easy. It's hard, man, and you gotta go into it knowing it's hard. But you've gotta want it at the same time. You can't just have that feeling in your heart of hey, I want to be successful. Hey, I want to be this. And who was successful overnight? Nobody. Just because like even one-hit wonders that came out and they have this great hit song or something like that. I mean, nobody knows how many times they've been sitting in a hallway or in their shower singing some crappy sounding song, and then they finally produced one that was amazing. Well, they had to work real hard to get to that point, which is where I always say with being an entrepreneur, it's hard. But you can be good at it. I would rather be the hardest worker in the room than be the most talented person.
100%, because the hardest person will outperform.
Yeah, I'll hire a guy that'll sit and bust his ass all day long. I want that guy on my team, because the guy that's just sitting there going, "Oh man, I can sell anything, I can do anything," I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we hate lazy
At
people.
4:59, that's the guy that's headed for the door.
Right.
You know, and I hate
Banker.
459 employees.
Banker hours.
So,
Yes.
Andy, let me ask you a question. It might be a tough question, but I'm sure all the audience they want to know. Let's say you're 30 years old and you have $10,000 cash, no credit card debt, nothing, still living in your parents' house. What are the steps you would take?
I'm going to the casino. I'm going to put it on blackjack.
First,
No.
when he wakes up, he does the cold plunge.
Yes. You know,
Assuming you're in shape.
yeah. At 30 and starting with $10,000, you know, me, I'd go out and I'd buy a car. I know cars. So at 30, I knew cars. And, you know, I'd go out and I'd probably buy a cheap car. Well, if I can take that cheap car and I can buy it, let's say I buy it for $2,000 or $3,000, and I'm able to turn around and sell it for maybe $4,000. You know, I make $1,000 profit on it. I keep taking that money, especially if I'm still living at home in my parents' basement and I don't have any overhead.
Yeah.
And I go off, I sell that car. Okay, here. And maybe you do that type of transaction, you know, once or twice a week at first. Well, okay, now let's say you're doing it twice a week. You're making $8,000 a month. And let's say you're averaging $1,000 on every car. You know, okay, well here, now I'm able to buy 2 cars this week. Because I've held all that back. I'm building my capital.
Right.
You know, and you're constantly building your capital up to find out, okay, do I want to eventually get to have a car dealership? You know, is that where I want to go? Or do I want to move into that next, you know, you're going to meet people as you're going along. That networking that you're doing that whole time that you're getting started. But man, thinking about starting a new career with $10,000, I don't, you know, one, I don't want to think about that. 2, I think I'd be closing myself in. I don't need the $10,000 to get started. I'm going to go out and, you know, find a business, but I'm going to go get a job at a business of what I want to do.
Yes.
So I don't need the $10,000 to get started. I'm going to go learn what it is I'm going to do first. So if, let's say, if I was living at home and I was like, man, I want to be an auctioneer or I want to be in the auction business, what am I going to go do? I'm going to go find an auction to hang out at. I'm going to learn the steps of what it takes, and then I'm going to build that process because I got to be educated no matter what and what I'm doing.
Yes.
You can have all the money in the world you want, but if you're not educated about the business and the environment you're going to be in, it doesn't do any good
Yeah.
either
So
way.
I see right away 3 things, 3 value adds. 1, delayed gratification. So if like you're making money,
100%.
when you're making money, you live at your mom's basement. A lot of you guys like, oh, I just made $1,000 in a new transaction. Let me buy new Jordans or something else where people are gonna know I make money. No, that's the wrong way. You just stack. So delayed gratification. 2 is education, right? Learning a new skill constantly, right? And a third one I forgot about, but there's definitely value there.
Buy your time back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's
I
the
back
one.
that.
That's what I'm figuring out now. Is I would say the biggest thing I've learned is getting other people to do work for
Right.
me that I used to always think I needed to do. You know, you're not doing it right. I'll do it. Well, no, I better teach you right.
Right.
So I don't even have to think about it. Like you guys talk about, you've got all these processes in place and everything gets to where it's automated. You don't have to be as hands-on.
Yes.
That's where, you know, where before I talked about operating for me, I was always operating in the weeds. I'm down here on the ground, I'm boots on the ground, I'm at war every single day. Now I'm up here at 30,000 feet and I'm watching over everything that goes on. There's a complete difference from being down on the ground fighting the war to being up here. Now, when I need to go down there, it's real easy to jump back in and you know, get in the middle of it. But I'm better off up here because I can tell everybody where to go and what to do.
Yeah.
So speaking of 30,000 feet, you have a private jet. I don't want to point that out, but I want to ask you from personal, and I'm sure viewers would appreciate, what was the major point where like, F this, I'm getting a jet? Was it a delay that you were at the airport for a day and a half? Was it because you need to get to places faster? What's the value there? Because we're always convinced like, hey, I like this car. Should I get it? Should I not? I already have one. You're like, oh, the kids would be safer, or my wife likes it, or this would be out. Like you talk yourself into like, right? Getting something.
So I had a business partner that I had. He kept sitting there telling me, he's like, dude, you got to buy a plane. And I'm like, I can't afford a plane. He said, you can't afford not to have a plane. He said, you travel too much, you're going to weird places. I wouldn't like, it'd be different if I was saying I'm flying from, Dallas to Atlanta. It's a, connector. It's just, you're there. I wasn't. I'm flying to, some obscure town or something like that.
Oh,
I'm
small
going-
airports.
Small airports.
Is
I'm
that for
not-
work or for pleasure?
It was for work.
For work, okay.
And, but then I got caught in an airport during COVID. And this was right at the beginning of COVID. And,
craziness.
And it wasn't because of COVID that, so much was the problem. It was just the fact that the delay held me up for an entire day, and it cost me money. And what it cost me while I was there, I couldn't, I could have paid to go fly private and been there and been back in the same day. So now, like, we use the plane within the company, and I take employees with me everywhere I go. Well, my whole goal is if I have employees with me, I want them back to their families. I don't want them spending overnight, somewhere where before we were staying overnight, because there wasn't a flight back till the next day, even though we were done at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, now I got to buy hotel rooms for everybody. I got to buy dinner for everybody. Now I got to buy breakfast for everybody. I got to pay for a rental car. You start adding all these things up. Well, I pay a couple extra $1,000 to fly private home. I'm home in the same night. My people are with their family, getting to spend that important time that they need with their family. And because that's always their big complaint, is, oh, well, I don't have enough time to spend with my family. Okay, well, I need to get you home to your family. So that really factored in. And now when we do travel, it's, everybody gets home in just about in the same day, unless we've got something that's going on for a reason.
Yeah. Plus, they're flying privite.
Well, yeah.
That's a bonus.
They love that, It's
Yeah.
like, hey, what'd you do today? Oh. But I don't let them tell anybody. This is like the first public thing that's ever come out that I got a jet.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Not really. Not really.
No, you know what? It's one of those things, man. I never thought I'd be where I am in my
Yeah.
life to say that, hey, I've got a private jet. It's not like I'm flying around on a
Yeah.
G550 or something, but
Right.
man, I've got a workhorse of a jet, and it gets the job done. And and for me, one of those things. Once I did it, it was real gratifying for me when it happened. It was, I forget where we were going, but when my dad retired from the military back when I was in high school, he never got on another plane. He was like, I've jumped out of enough planes, during my career in the military. I just have no need to fly. So I bought this plane. I'd had it about a year, and I told my dad, I said, hey, I'm going out to Amarillo. You want to go? You know what? I do. My dad got on a plane for the first time in like 35 years.
Wow.
And I was like, man, this is so cool, because he'd never flown private before. I guess you flew private in the military on airplanes, but those were a little different.
Yeah,
But,
something different.
and I got to take him on this flight, and when we got done, he's like, what do we need to do to upgrade? I was like, wow, it's a whole different mindset, because he originally, when I first bought it, he's like, son, this is the dumbest thing you've ever done. I don't know why you went out and did this. And now he's like, I see the value in what you've done. Of course, he manages the book, so he has to see the value in it. But he finally saw that there was value in it. There's value in my time, because there is a dollar amount, no matter what you say, to what my time is worth.
Right.
And and if you're sitting there and you're on a scale of, this guy makes $10 and I make $100 an hour, and we're going down the road, and I'm having to spend 10 hours. Well, you just ate up 10 hours that I couldn't work. That I'm not getting work done that's generating money for the company. So just because my hourly dollar is this, my value to my company, though, is exponential.
Oh, yeah.
It may be $10,000 an hour, because I'm generating money for the company constantly.
Right.
And if I can't be generating money for the company, then we're not moving forward. So it bought my time back, and that was one. Like I said, buy your time back. That had a big deal in it. Now, is everybody? Am I saying everybody needs to go out and buy a jet? No. If you can, do it, because it's fun.
Yeah. Buy the book first. Buy back your time.
That's a great book.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
great book.
yeah.
Very
Dan
good book.
Martell.
That
Yes,
was, I
yeah.
love that dude.
Man, he's
As
awesome.
soon as I read it, I was like, yo, I was sending one copy to
Yeah,
my
you gave it
brother.
to
I
me.
was like, bro,
Yeah.
we gotta make sure there's some big takeaways. But speaking back to the jet, I think it's a very good like motivator for anybody who's out there doesn't want to just 9 to 5 come home watch TV. I think that's a very good goal, and I'm really glad that you're able to achieve it. That's something me and my brother is looking forward to in our family, because I also want to do it not just like, oh, look at us flying private. I want to get my parents on it. I want my wife to enjoy it. I want for them to see the fruits of the labor that we put out, that we might not be there for every night during the dinner time. We might not be able to see and spend a lot of time with our parents because we are working, and to show them that there's something, for it. It's not just like I'm in the office on Facebook all day. We were actually,
You're on
getting the
TikTok.
stuff done. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's really good. TikTok. Yeah, that's it. It wasn't just Facebook. That's right.
And that's important, and that's where you talk about that part of, with the family and that I've been doing all this. I'm doing it for a reason. Regardless of I'm not there, they sit back and they're like, well, you're never home. You're not really, you say you're doing this for the family. Man, we're always doing it for the family.
Right.
And no matter what.
Yeah.
It's, it's hard to get across sometimes because there is, that most important word in achieving things, sacrifice. And that's where we go back to that part where we were talking about, that work-life balance. Well,
Yeah.
there's no such thing. So somebody is sacrificing something. I'm sacrificing, I don't have kids, but I can imagine that, any entrepreneur is sitting there, I'm sacrificing time away from my family. Maybe I don't get to see my kids' first steps, or maybe I don't get to see, Billy go play soccer or something like that. Well, for me, I don't get to spend as much time with Jaime, and that's, the important part in my life. And, so those things happen, and, but why am I sacrificing them? So when we go do things, oh, we're fucking doing them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Best of nothing for sure.
And,
Facts.
people go out, they buy cars, and they want to flex, and I'm like, well, I'll flex.
Yeah. You're like, you don't want me to flex, bro. Just
All right.
enjoy your ride.
It's just it's fun, but it is a tool nonetheless. Yeah, it's cool to have, but when it's said and done, man, it's just a tool for me to make more money, and that's
Nice.
all. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's getting to do something like this with you guys. It's my first podcast to ever be on, but it's that point of, man, I get to teach somebody now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to, it's not just that 30-year-old that I'm trying to connect with. I'm trying to connect with somebody that's, 45 to 55, that's in that phase of their life that's like, hey, I don't know where I want to go right now. I've been working at my job for 20-something years, so I'm up for pension or retirement, but what do I do after that? How do I go out? How do I form a business? How do I make that next step in my life? It isn't too late. I didn't start this second phase where I'm on the all-in phase until I was, I'm 48. So I was 48 when I bought my most recent auction, the first one for this new group for DAX. And when I started that, it was, okay, this is the big run. Because I thought the run I had before was a big run. It's nothing.
Wow.
The run we're going to make now is going to be epic.
So
That's awesome.
that's exciting. That's exciting. So how can people find you?
Find me at, I guess, on Instagram. I don't know how to do it. I'm horrible at
It's fine. We'll
technology.
tag it. So
Yeah.
we'll say
Tag
what
it.
is
It's
it?
just _ Andy Dunning.
Okay. We'll make
and
sure we'll
then
tag it.
on
to the video.
Facebook, it's Andy Dunning on there as well. But my auction is, it's called DAX, Dealers Auction Exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And you can look that up and go to daxauction.com and it'll pop up.
Awesome.
And you got a nice logo there on your
Yeah,
t-shirt.
man,
so-
it's,
awesome.
everybody's always like, why'd you do the shield? And I'm like, well, because I'm here to protect everybody that works for me. That shield
Nice.
is out front.
That's awesome.
And I'm always going to be the one wearing it out front, because if somebody's going to get hit, it's me.
Yeah.
Nice.
you
I
know,
like that.
so.
True leader. Spoke like a true
I'm,
leader.
I'm learning it. That's the thing. I'm learning that leadership deal.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important part. But we're hanging out with leaders,
Of course.
you
Yes.
know, and they make us better all the time.
100%. Well,
So.
thank you.
Andy,
for
thank you
having
so
me.
much
Thank
for
you
And
for
coming out.
I thank you all,
Um,
man.
I'm super excited to see next 5 years I'm sure we're gonna get you on the podcast, or maybe we'll come to your podcast.
Absolutely.
So I want to see your success story and see where you
Continue
at.
to
Maybe
the
if you have
bone, yeah.
2 jets, you know what I mean? You give us
Maybe you'll let
one.
my brother drive one. The one that you don't
I'm
like.
trying to get my
Pilot license.
pilot license so I can
Yeah.
Fly you guys.
Yeah.
No, thank
I'm
you.
out on that one.
No, thank you. You lost me there. I'd rather do cold plunge.
Exactly. Yeah, let's go cold plunge.
All right, thanks,
Yeah,
man.
thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
man.
man. I appreciate it. It's an honor.